This passage, first of all, is about the mindset, and I've talked to you before quite a bit about the mindset, so I'll be brief in that aspect of it. فَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّن شَيْءٍ فَمَتَاعُ الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا. Whatever you have been given, that it's utilities of worldly life. These are things you're supposed to be using in this world. Don't get too obsessed with them. Don't get too attached to them. I mean, our teacher used to give us the example of someone who's on, is getting the death penalty, and the next day they're going to be executed. So if you give them the most comfortable bed the night before, or the most beautiful hotel room, or you hand them the mansion or whatever, it doesn't matter to that guy. You give him the most delicious meal, he can't taste the good of it. It doesn't matter, because he knows tomorrow he's leaving all of this behind. None of it's going to stay with him, right? So now that's a reality check of death. But for the Muslim, it's not just death. It's the life after death too. People that don't believe in the akhirah, they call it a midlife crisis. They hit their 40s or their late 30s or whatever, and they realize death is inevitable, and they start seeing signs of it on their body. The wrinkling skin, the blurring vision, the back pain, the graying hair. I told you before, maybe that shaybuka na'ik, the Arabs have a saying, your whitening hair is an alarm, meaning alarm of death. Right? So these things, and they go into depression, and they'll buy like a sports car, or get all kinds of weird surgery and start dressing differently, like acting not out of their age, basically, right? But for us, it's not a matter of depression, it's actually a matter of death is just one stop of many stops that we have to make. First we were inside our mothers, then we came into this world, and even before then we were with Allah Azza wa Jal, alam al-arwah, then we came into our mothers, then out into this world, then we're going to make a little bit of a stop in our graves, then we have to get out of our graves and answer Allah. Judgment Day, then imma nar wa imma al-jannah. Allahumma adkhilna fil jannah. May Allah enter us into Jannah. But these stops, they're important to recognize. And for a Muslim who can maintain that, then he'll understand and she'll understand that they can't get too obsessed with worldly things. And on a side note also, we have to keep in mind the grand scheme of things, the bigger picture. If a building is on fire, then you don't worry about the painting is a little, I should fix that. Like, something's wrong with you. You're thinking about things that aren't important in the grand scheme of things, right? This idea of thinking big and keeping small things small and letting big things be big. The idea of having a sense of proportion, prioritizing. Like the Arabs say, كَبِّرْهَا تَكْبُرْ صَغِّرْهَا تَصْغُرْ. You make a big deal out of it, it'll become a big deal. You keep it a small problem, it'll stay a small problem. Well, we have to make big deals out of the big issues and small deals out of the small issues, right? So Allah says, whatever you've been given in this world, and this is just worldly stuff. And so from that, what we extract in our organizational work, particularly relevant to this series, is in your organization there will be big issues and there are small issues. There are day-to-day things, in management they call them micromanaging. Right? There are day-to-day little things that you have to get done, and maybe they're not being done to the way you'd like to see them done. If they're not a life and death issue, it's okay. You don't have to exhaust your energy and your temper and arguments over those kinds of things. The vision for an organization, the purpose, is it meeting its purpose? Is the larger picture being addressed? When those things are actually running to speed, then you can start addressing some of the minor things. And it's a problem when you start focusing on the minor things and you lose sight of the bigger picture. I'll give you, outside of organizational work, I'll give you a general idea of that too, in the life of a Muslim. In the life of a Muslim, there are some things that Allah made priority. The average Muslim, salat every day is a top priority. If you're not making your salawat on time, there's a problem. There's a very, very serious problem. And then there are other priorities too. But you could almost arrange them in a certain order, right? But then you have a Muslim whose priority, top priority is, I want to make sure I eat halal meat. Okay, I agree it's a priority. It's a big deal. But you know what? That's the only priority. There's something you have to, before you have a relationship with meat, you have to have a relationship with Allah. You have to address salat first. You have to take care of that. Then other issues are there too. So the guy is eating halal meat, he makes sure he eats halal meat, but he earns it from a haram store. What good is that halal meat? I've mentioned that to you before too. So you have to have a sense of priorities. The same thing within an organization. Anyway, what that does then is, وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى. It's so beautiful. Allah says, whatever you've been given is just stuff for you to use. Whatever Allah has is better. خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى, and longer lasting. My phone just cracked, I got a new one. It was under warranty, so it was cheap, $50, I got it. And they said, you want the iPhone 4 or you want the 4S? I said, I want the 4. I said, why do you want the 4S? Because I know another one's coming out soon, I just take the cheaper one, I don't care. And then when that's coming out, this one's going to look like garbage. Whoever's still walking around with an iPhone 3 is embarrassed. They don't take it out in public, or they got a really big cover for it because, socially unacceptable now. When it first came out, everybody was crazy about it. Happens, doesn't it? When you buy a car and they change the shape of your car in the next model, then your car looks hideous. Allah says, whatever I have is better. And there is no better version coming out. This is the one that lasts forever. وَأَبْقَى لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, for those who truly believe. وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ, and they completely place their trust upon Allah Azza wa Jal. You know what this ayah does more than anything else in the context of our conversation? There are so many lessons, but I want to keep it relevant to our conversation. And that is that your expectations are only from Allah. Your expectations are not from your work. Your expectations are not from your masjid. Your expectations are not from your leader, your imam, your scholar, your teacher. Your expectations are only from Allah Azza wa Jal. When that happens, you learn to deal with disappointment in a very healthy way. When we place expectations in the wrong place, then disappointment hits us very, very hard. We're not able to deal with it in a healthy way. But when tawakkul is in the right place, it's with Allah Azza wa Jal, then we can deal with difficult issues without a problem. Because we know, وَمَا عِنْدَ اللَّهِ خَيْرٌ وَأَبْقَى لِلَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَلَى رَبِّهِمْ يَتَوَكَّلُونَ. Then I mentioned the sense of proportion. Next ayah, Allah Azza wa Jal says, الَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشِ وَإِذَا مَا غَضِبُوا هُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ. Beautiful combination of things. One, they stay away from major sins. كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ, the biggest sins. Shirk at the top of it, murder, zina, riba. This is big stuff. Tarkus salat. These are big things. Leaving salat. They make sure they stay away from the really, really bad stuff. Number one. So now, وَالْفَوَاحِشِ, and then he adds, and especially all forms of shamelessness. Because when somebody thinks of the really